professional physicists, but it's also one of its key goals is to promote outreach and promote the benefits of science here in Australia. And together with the Australian Optical Society, we're very pleased to put on this show for you today, which is a laser show, as well as a celebration of the centenary of the birth of Aleksandr Prokhorov, who was the father of the laser and was awarded in 1964 the Nobel Prize in Physics for his contributions towards the invention of the laser. Now, we're very pleased that this event, which we've been holding this week throughout regional Queensland, particular Townsville, Kent, and now here in Atherton today, has been supported through a National Science Week grant. And of course, we're right in the middle of Science Week. Science Week is an annual celebration here in Australia of science and technology, and also recognising the contributions of Australian scientists and technologists. And so it's a very nice I think, scene for this is what we're going to do today. We're going to have a laser show. We're also going to talk a little bit about Aleksandr Prokhorov and his contributions to physics to the invention of the laser. So before we get underway, we'd like to call on the Mayor, Joe Parinella, to come and say a few words of welcome to you all. Thank you, Joe. We're going to have a laser show throughout
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and Professor Laureate. I would like to say I would have loved to have seen a few more faces in the audience here today, but we're here. I believe it's a great show we're going to be witnessing. So glad you've come and really look forward to it. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we're meeting on and pay respects to the elders both past and present. I would also like to recognise Councillor Samantha Banks here today and everyone concerned with bringing this wonderful show to our region here. It's not a light thing to say, you know, someone who had so much influence in the technology that we see around the world today, and the 100th anniversary of his birth here on the Atherton Tablelands, and we should be celebrating that someone who had such a profound influence, you know, came from here, was born here. So welcome all distinguished guests and the acknowledgement of our local Nobel Prize recipient. As many of you may already know, Aleksandr lived in the Atherton Tablelands after his family fled Russia, enjoying a rural lifestyle and in a homestead at Butcher's Creek. And interestingly enough, Ian Church, who was a long-time CEO for the Shire and Tableland Regional Council, he actually owns the house and land where Aleksandr was born. It is an outstanding accolade to receive the Nobel Prize in Physics, with Aleksandr becoming a recipient for his work with lasers in 1964. His work ethic and achievements are a great reminder of the ability of any individual to do outstanding things from humble beginnings. With information at our fingertips via ever-improving technologies, the opportunity to excel in any field of interest is unlimited. We're actually quite fortunate to have nurtured some amazing individuals within this community, and one which few of you may be very aware of, but I don't believe it's widely known, is the fellow who wrote the theme for Doctor Who. He was actually born in Atherton here as well. So there you go, you know, from, yeah, once again. Well, science fiction, science, yeah, you know, he might have had something in common with Aleksandr. But his name is Laureate, and he certainly did compose that. Today we witness a celebration of Aleksandr's work through a laser show, and without further ado, I'll hand over to Professor Laureate once again. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Joe, for those great words, and it's always nice to have a surprise in learning, such as learning that someone associated with Doctor Who came from Atherton. That's amazing. So we're going to have a lot of fun today, as well as hear the story, as I said, about Aleksandr Prokhorov, who was born in this region at Butcher's Creek. And today we've got Hans Backel and Patrick Helian to present the laser show in two parts. First of all, to explain to you how lasers work. Hans is one of the Australian National University's most distinguished physicists who works in the area of quantum science, quantum physics. And Patrick is one of Questacon, so I hope you all know about Questacon, based in Canberra, but it does a lot of work all around Australia, one of their great science communicators. And together they're going to present this laser show. So without further ado, let me hand over to them, and of course this is something where you're all going to get involved in as well.
Now, I think most of you know quite a lot about Prokhorov, so I'm going to be fairly short, but there's some neat little pictures of him I've got here. So you all, next slide. Yep, come in. So the Nobel Prize in any subject, as you know, is a pretty amazing award. It's got this, well, we've got the Olympics on, we're focused on who wins gold medals. Well, it's a bit like winning a gold medal at the Olympics. And when you win one, and I've never won one, wouldn't have a chance, but when you won one, it's a fantastic achievement. Well, the Nobel Prize in physics is an amazing achievement, and you can see there that in 1964, the Nobel Prize was awarded to two Russians and an American for their work on lasers and masers. And as everyone here already knows, of course, Prokhorov, although he did his work in Russia, was actually born in this region. And I think you also know that his place of birth was Butcher's Creek, 20 or 30 kilometres, I think, to the southeast of here. And, sorry, yep, that's good. They came to Australia from Russia, from the Siberia part of Russia, and they were fleeing the difficulties present in Russia at that time. And they, with other families, after travelling through a number of different places in rural Queensland, finally settled in the Butcher's Creek area. And lots of history, people know much more about Prokhorov than me. They know where he lived, where he was born. One of the Russian neighbours acted as the midwife, and there was a whole group of Russians living in this area, which at the time they called Little Siberia. And the school at Butcher's Creek is still there today. In fact, our laser show attended that school yesterday afternoon, and that school has a great plaque, as you can see up there, that reminds the students that a Nobel Prize winning physicist attended school there. On Prokhorov's actual birthday a few weeks ago, they celebrated a birthday cake, and I believe the local newspaper had it as the front page article. So many years later, Prokhorov remembered his time in Australia. Here's a nice little video clip.
Because my memories of Australia, which I left in my childhood, have always been full of light and pleasure. I'm quite pleased to remember Australia, to receive here such an important.
And of course, after a couple of years at school, the family decided to return to Russia, where he eventually went to university and graduated in physics in 1938. And as many of you will know, there was a war sort of happening around that time, so he ended up serving in the war, next slide. Please, and he was indeed injured in the war. Subsequently, after the war, he returned to his studies and eventually was awarded a PhD, which is a university degree you get after your first degree, and that was on the topic of electromagnetic radiation and in coherent radiation of electrons in the synchrotron accelerator. And after that, he continued working, and his career certainly flourished in the 1950s, as you can hear from this next short clip.
Come on. Ah, there. I sort of keep on missing it. What is city?
And the play button goes, yeah.
No. Oh.
That's
Funny works there.
In the mid-50s, both in the US and the USSR, came out works published by Charles Stamets and Aleksandr Prokhorov, together with Nikolai Basov, who independently from each other expressed homemade theoretic principles of designing new electronic equipment. This resulted in creation of the first molecular generator, giving birth to quantum electronics, and in particular, primitive laser-based optical quantum generators.
Isn't that great footage? The only issue these days is that you really should be wearing safety goggles when doing all sorts of experiments with lasers, but we won't go into that. So his career flourished, he got the Nobel Prize, and he became one of the most eminent scientists within the Soviet Union, within Russia, and he directed and supported a lot of science work in the USSR. And then he died at the age of 85. He's buried in Moscow. Recently, they unveiled a new memorial to him, which is on display in Moscow somewhere. And the science community around the world who had got to know him over a long period of time certainly noted that he was not only an accomplished scientist, but one who generated a fair amount of warmth with whom he worked. And so another optical scientist in the US wrote these words. He was a lifelong committed scientist, a consummate gentleman, a Russian patriot, and a global opticist. His contributions to quantum optics have formed the basis for much of today's photonics evolution and applications. So now back to the fun part, the laser show. Thank you.
So I think we'll finish there with our question and answers, but one final thing we've got to do is, of course, we are very grateful to Atherton State High School here for hosting us, and in particular David Platts for organising this here. And so I'd just like to present David a little memento of the occasion, if you could come forward. Where is he?
He's just right over here.
Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Here he is. So we've got a nice picture here of Aleksandr Prokhorov, and it says to Atherton State High School from the Australian Optical Society and the Australian Institute of Physics in National Science Week 2016 in commemoration of the centenary of Aleksandr Prokhorov's birth. So David, thank you so much for hosting us, and thank you for all your organisation. It's fantastic. Thank you.
Can I get a picture of you guys?
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
No worries. And I think that one of the key messages from today is no matter how humble your beginnings are, if you have that thirst for science and learning and discovery, you can go out there and win a Nobel Prize as well. So all of you out there, particularly the young ones, you just go for it, won't you? And I hope today you've been inspired by Hans and Patrick's presentation to do more in science and to go out there and discover. So thanks everyone for your attendance. David has very kindly organised some eats over there and some drinks. So you're welcome to mingle and to talk to Patrick and Hans and myself and Stephen, of course, Stephen, who told us the story about Aleksandr Prokhorov as the president of the Australian Optical Society. It's very great. It's great that he can be here as well. So thank you everyone, and we'll finish here.